anyways, that's my whole spiel on what I'm doing here on Twitch. And today, let me pull it up. We are going to be talking about a Wattpad book. Side note, before this kicks off, channel rules are legit. Thank you. They're pretty self-explanatory, I think. Yeah, because when I first started this book club, I was like, because I love, like I just explained, I love books, but I don't like to get super like pretentious. And I was like, oh, I'll start a book club in real life. Like I'll find a group of people in real life and start a book club, and I could talk about books with people around where I live. And then I was like, no, it's just going to be a bunch of people trying to sound smart in front of other people. I don't want to do that. Like I'm just going to be judging them for being so pretentious and idiotic, and I'm just going to want to slam them. And on top of that, I just don't relate. And so I was really out for some reason. I was like, like that's in my head. I pictured what a book club is either people not talking about the book, not reading the book, or when they are talking about the book, just talking over themselves to be like, I'm the most intellectual, that's what I was picturing. And then I was like, okay, no, I want a book club, but I want it with like just people who like books, I want to talk about books with people, read books at the same time as people, talk about the characters. That's fun to me. And then I was like, oh yeah, I heard about this Twitch thing. Maybe I can just do like a Twitch style book club where, that's fun. And that's where those rules came in. So when I say don't be a dick, that's what I'm talking about. Like, please don't be one of those people who's just a hater, like who wants to just trash books all the time, who wants to just be a jerk for the sake of being a jerk. I can't stand it. I hate characters. Like when I read a book, I hate a character. And sometimes I hate things about the book, but I'm not going to bash on it for no good reason. And I'm definitely not going to bash on anybody else's opinion of a book. If somebody else likes a character, I met somebody who Cersei Lannister was their favorite character. Of all the people in Game of Thrones, Cersei Lannister is their favorite character. I'm baffled. And I told them I was baffled, but at the same time, I didn't bash on them. So anyways, those are the rules. So back to my Wattpad review. I'm so sorry, by the way. I have a cold, cough, the whole bit. So you're going to hear me sounding pretty nasty and taking lots of breaks to drink my tea so that I'm not completely dried out and coughing and all of that. I had a terrible night coughing. You guys know how it is. I'm sure everybody on here has had a cold before and understands. But anyways, without further ado, As Cold as White by Josie No. So, first off, I'm going to do my about the author before I get into the book. So I always ask the author, tell me something about yourself. And it's always funny because the authors say completely different things, like what they think. I want to know what they're willing to say, blah, blah, blah. Mango had a great answer from last week where he was like, oh yeah, I just graduated with my marketing degree. I finished a marathon. I am a Brazilian jiu-jitsu competitor. Like, that's really awesome. This is what Josie put is I love Mexican food and pasta, which is such a good answer. Oh yeah, it's Joe No. Sorry, I'm just calling you John Go because that's how I read it. Yeah. Mexican food and pasta are excellent. Agree entirely, Mango King. I love Mexican food and pasta. So same. Already on board with you there. But another thing that she did not include on her little tiny sentence that she provided about, oh, you don't mind. Good. The little tiny sentence that she provided about herself is that this is the first draft of her very first story. So what I read was the first thing that we ever get from Joe. So this is the very first story that Josie, excuse me. This is the very, very first story that we get from Josie, which is so exciting. Like the first thing that's come out of you, this is your first attempt at writing. That says a lot because I cannot tell you the difference. And I don't think that I'm a talented writer. I had this really cool story idea and I was not planning on sharing it with anybody. I just wrote it for myself because I'd never written anything before. And it was a pantsing style. So pantsing style writing is where you just start writing and you don't really have a plan and you kind of have like a loose idea of a plan, definitely no outline. And you just kind of let the story take you with it. You know, you're just like not in control. You're just writing. It's a creative process, right? Okay, well, the cover looks sweet and everyone knows you're supposed to judge a book by its cover. Yeah. So another thing is that I'm pretty sure Josie created this cover herself, and I'll get to my cover review eventually. But anyways, there's a huge difference between your the first thing that comes out and then once you start developing that story a little bit. So this is really exciting to see the first draft that anybody puts on, because I know that there's a lot of people who put on their absolute first drafts on Wattpad. It's an AI cover, sorry. No, I mean, when I was looking at the cover, I was like, I can't tell if this is AI or they just like took like a cool photo and then propped it up against like a spooky woodland background, whatever. Anyways, I do like the cover. I think it, as far as like just taking away the fact that it's AI, which everybody uses AI on Wattpad to make their covers. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. So there's definitely, I put that on my form specifically because I said no AI. Yeah, never apologize for using resources available to you. Yeah, I think that you know, a lot of people are creating these like cool images with AI. And I think that if I were to say, yeah, don't bother, or if I was going to judge somebody for using an AI photograph, then it would be, there would be nobody on Wattpad getting reviews from their books. There would be no book covers, like people would just have plain stuff. But yeah, there's and you can always change your cover, but I think that it's pretty neat, especially considering the topic of the book. You know, I think that and I'll get to that later. But anyways, I just want to say this is the very first draft of a very first writing attempt. That's a big deal. I would expect it to be a pretty rough thing. So anyways, moving on to the actual book. So the book title, and this is what I'm going to say as my first impression of the book and why I chose this book to review, because when you very first applied or submitted that you wanted a book review, I wouldn't immediately checked it out and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that one next. That one's a good one to check out. And so that's my first impression of this book is like, yeah, that's something that I would like to check out. So that's saying something. So if I chose your book as to review, it means that it looked decent enough for me to spend my very, very precious time to read. So the book title is As Cold as White, written by Josie No. As far as the cover goes, we're looking at it right now. Yeah, AI. It was using AI, but it is very cool, and I feel like it represents the story really well. You get spooky, you get somebody's brains are exposed, covered in dripping wet paint on a spooky background. It definitely looks spooky, and again, completely represents this story. The title, As Cold as White, is also interesting. I think I don't you don't get it at first, but it's made clear, why it's titled that. I think it's a neat title as well. So, also I saw that you posted a new story on Wattpad, and I like the title of that one too, but I don't need to talk about it right now. But hang on, let me see what it's actually titled really quick. I think it's like I Love You, Weirdo. Hang on. But you just posted it. Terminus, I Love You, Weirdo. I like that title. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so as far as titles and covers go, great first impression. I like it. This book has no reads. So it looks like it says 140 reads, and 12 parts, and it is a 3 hour and 17-minute read according to Wattpad. It is a pretty short book. So there's only like, it says 12 parts, but there's 10 chapters, but they're long chapters. They're like, on my phone, it's like 40 pages. So I don't know how much that is if you're like reading it on the computer, or how many words a 40-page book is. But when I'm reading it on my phone, it's like 40 pages. So it's a pretty, pretty short book. 3 hours and 17 minutes, I feel like is like, I don't know, is that mid-range for Wattpad? I don't know. But it is rated complete, or is rated mature. And this is the summary provided by the author. June Young-sun Cook, and excuse me if I am pronouncing all of this wrong, but June Young-sun Cook has always been bullied for being on the chubby side, but is it enough motive to kill? June has gotten into weightlifting. He's even lost a significant amount of weight, giving him a chiseled jawline. People are starting to take notice of June's new physique, and with that, a change in luck. He's even caught the eyes of the popular crowd at school. But things take a turn when murders take place in this little California city. Will detectives figure out who the culprit is before it's too late? But the question is, why are only the jocks being targeted? That is what you're given in. Hello. Hey, Stella Robert. We are good. How are you? Just getting into our Wattpad review. There is a trigger warnings here: disturbing imaging, foul language, eating disorders, violence, and abuse. Viewer discretion is advised. That is what we're, I got the name down. Nice. How is my day going so far? My day is going pretty good. Actually, got my husband got me some Chick-fil-A for breakfast. Never done that before. No, we never go out for breakfast. And we didn't go out. He brought it to me with some cold medicine. So it was a very special day. I was very excited. Great start to a day. And I got to see my kid brother. He's 17. And I love him. And I got to see his girlfriend. Did you mention you worked at Chick-fil-A? No, you didn't say that ever. I love those little breakfast biscuit things, by the way. Those things are amazing. They're like little mini sandwiches, but there's like something sweet on them. Those are the bomb. And I'm supposed to be on a diet. So anyways, the tags. Okay, so going back to the book review, the chicken egg cheese biscuit is S tier. S tier? That's like higher than A, right? I forget what that means. Okay. So, so you're given so I look at the trigger warnings. Have you tried some new games on Twitch that are recently released? Nope. I don't play video games. I'm a weird Twitch person. Disturbing imaging, foul language, eating disorders, violence, and abuse. Viewer discretion is advised. So you're reading this and you're like, oh, okay, this is like a murder mystery, and these are the trigger warnings. So one, it's not rated for mature for sexual content, which I really like for Wattpad. I really like I really like stories that rely on the plot and don't rely on smut for quality. So I really like that. So that's nice for every book, basically. I mean, I'm not saying that no smut's good. I mean, you want to have a good romance and a good story. Anyways, so the tags on this are comedy, which is a great first tag. So there's another one that pulled me. It was comedy, crime, dark, enemies to lovers, funny moments, girl x boy, girl x girl, gore, horror, humor, June, killer, LGBT, mystery, novella, party, romance, school, short story, time, weightlifting. Those are the tags. What's your hobby? Yeah, what is everybody's hobbies? Mine's clearly reading. I like reading and writing. Time is interesting. Yeah, time is interesting as a tag. There's a few, so I would say, because June is a tag on here because the main character's name is June, and that is their most impressive. That is the most impressive tag according to Wattpad, because it's like ranked 135 out of 1,000 plus or something like that. I don't know if June should be a tag on this, because it's like most people who are going to read this is going to be like a month's name instead of a boy's name. Oh, and thank you, Stella, for following. Clarifying for no reason. Water. Okay, so I know I was thinking, is that a bot too? I have dropped a follow to catch more awesome content. Yeah, I am sorry, but you do, if you're a real person, you do sound a little bit like a bot. So I don't know if you're real. If you're real, you're very polite and awesome. If you're a bot, you're a great bot. Happy to have you. Thank you, Mango. So anyway, so as far as tags go, I like comedy, crime, dark, enemies to lover, funny moments, girl x boy, girl x girl, gore, horror, humor. I'm not crazy about having June as a tag, because it's a little bit confusing if you're just looking at the tags and you don't realize that that is a Oh, I am real. You can be a great streamer. You just need to attract more followers and viewers. Yeah. By the way, where are you from? Don't mind, I am asking. Got those short key commands. I'm from the United States. Killer is a great tag. LGBT, mystery, novella, party, romance, school, short story. Time, I also was curious. Time is a very interesting tag. I'm not sure what, after reading the book, maybe towards the end, I'm not really I'm not sure what the time tag means. If you don't mind, I'll share my own idea to you. Yeah, the fact they're responding in text before she even says the response to the question. Yeah. Okay, I guess they're banned. Sorry, Stella, Robert, if you're real. Goodbye. Oh, no. You don't. Okay, first of all, Josie, please do not do anything that you don't want to do. This is just my thoughts. I'm really just providing my thoughts. And usually I just try to pretend you're not listening to this as I'm talking. So they're going to suggest you give them money for followers. Oh, okay. I don't know anything about that stuff. I don't know anything about Twitch, and I don't need more followers. I have you. I have everything that I need. Anyways, so going back to this, so as far as first impressions go, never apologize for using the resources available to you times 2. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. I mean, yeah, definitely use whatever tags you want to catch readers. I feel like you should add, there was one that I was going to recommend that you add. Serial killer. I would add serial killer. Banhammer is the resource this time. I would add serial killer to this. I mean, you already have killer, which is great. You don't have murder, which you should have. You have mystery, which is awesome. I would definitely look up good criminal, like murder mystery type of tags for this and kind of see what else is out there. But I think that those would be some good additions. And then I don't know about time. I don't know about June. Keep whatever you want. You know better. I'm just giving my opinion. So please, again, take everything I'm saying with a huge grain of salt. For sure. So my first impression is, okay, this is going to be a mystery like a murder thriller, but it's going to be a little bit funny because there is comedy and funny moments and romance and party and all that stuff listed on here. So that's my first impression, which sounded very interesting to me. The trigger warnings are disturbing imaging, foul language, which is like Perfect. Love that. Love disturbing imagery. Love foul language. Eating disorders was interesting as well, and and I'll get to that later. Violence and abuse. Those are all like interesting triggers as well. So when people say they're triggers, it's important to include that stuff so people don't read something that they would really not like to read. I personally will not read something that has child abuse. I won't read something that is like super, super sexual unless it's like clearly marked and I can skip it. So those are the type or things that are just like super dark. I try to avoid things with like suicide. There's a lot of different types of stuff that I try to avoid just because it makes my soul hurt. And so I think the trigger warnings are important, but sometimes I get excited about the trigger warnings. You get excited that there's going to be some violence. You get excited that there's going to be foul language. And by the way, the disturbing imagery in this book is excellent. The way these kids are killed, man, I love it. You did a good job there. So normally what I do with my book reviews is I'll say like what works, what doesn't work, was this fun to read, do I have favorite quotes, I do a plot breakdown, and I do character breakdown. So I'm gonna blow through this a little bit. So the main character is June. He is this kid who was chubby and bullied, and oh, thank you, Textual. Basically, June is this kid who was bullied, because he was chubby, and so the prologue opens up with him getting just freaking, they're trying to feed the jocks. It uses like a lot of cliche language, like jocks. The jocks are trying to feed poor June a piece of poop. And they're beating him up and trying to force him, and they smear the poop on his face, and they beat him up, and they destroy his clothes, and he always has backup clothes and backup clothes, and he just had a feeling that today was going to be bad. And so that's the prologue. Yeah, it's really gross. And it's one of those ones where it's like, okay, so you immediately sympathize for the main character. It's very powerful opening, right? And then so that's the prologue. He's a fat kid. And then you open up on the chapter 1. He worked out all summer and he got super fit. And now he's like this buff, beautiful babe, right? And I should just say this reminded me of the story my husband said when he was a kid. He said he went from like freshman year to sophomore year. He was like, I'm tired of being like so skinny and small. I want to be like grown. I want to be buff. And his dad was a bodybuilder. And so every single day for that entire summer, he worked out. Poop catalyst for a glow up. Yeah. Yes. He decided, he's like, enough of this. Like, I've had enough. I want to start working out. Like, I'm done with being the fat kid that everybody bullies. Like, this is miserable and I want to move on. Right. So that's what happens. And so then he starts working out and then has his little Cinderella moment, right? So my husband was like, I don't want to be the skinny kid anymore. I want to be a bulky dude. And so anyways, his dad's a bodybuilder, went every single summer to the gym, woke up at like 3 a.m, because that's how his dad did it growing up. Woke up 3 a.m, changed his diet. And apparently sophomore year, totally different dude, just like came back, huge BRB, gonna eat dinner. Not a good time to mention thematically. No. Sorry, Brad. Enjoy your dinner. Don't think about what we're talking about. But anyways, this happens all the time. In fact, my brother just got into bodybuilding, and he after a breakup, and he just told me the story this morning, because I was like, whatever happened? Because he dated this girl for like 2 years. And in high school, 2 years is an eternity. And he was saying, my mom was like nagging him about something. I have a very naggy mom. And she was like, she said, he was like, can you please quit giving me a hard time? What's her name broke up with me. And she was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, and then this is what my mom did. And this is like parenting moment of the year. Great job, Mom. She was like, you have a big hole in your life. Would you like me to buy you a membership to the gym? And my brother was like, yeah, sure. And now that's like his passion is working out. So I just think that's really, really interesting, that like these things do happen. People have these like moments and then they start working out, you know, or they have these like moments and then they change everything. So it's cool to start out a story like that with the prologue of, you know, he's getting bullied and he immediately goes to his sister and says, you know what, I'm going to start working out. And his sister's his best friend. He doesn't have any friends outside of his sister. His sister, Jody, is a total character. I have abs under my compassion weight belly from my wife's pregnancy. I just ate too much and moved too little. Now I want a Cinderella moment. You know what? You can have your Cinderella moment with your wife, getting healthy with your wife. My husband was really, really concerned when I got pregnant that he was going to get he was going to have his own compassion weight, and he didn't. But he'd had to do all the cooking, so we were not eating very well after I had both of my kids. So, because he was in charge of cooking. And he's a great cook, but he also prefers to not cook. It was just like everybody, basically. Anyways, so Jody's his best friend. He doesn't have any friends, so they're going to the gym all the time. Jody is the one with the eating disorder. She binge eats and then, you know, throws him up. So bulimia, I'm not sure about anorexia, but she's very, you know, controlling over her food intake, likes her figure, is, you know, super, super buff. I'd imagine that she looks healthy, but she does have, shame, my husband stayed really fit and sexy. Weird flex. I'm always flexing about my husband. He's great. My husband's a control freak when it comes to like, he's very disciplined. If he doesn't want to gain weight, he won't. But if he's like, I'm good, you know, to put on a little winter weight, little extra flubber for the winter, keep me nice and warm, he'll do that too. He does whatever he wants. But he doesn't ever do anything he doesn't want. It's the thing. I'm the opposite. I have to like be really strict with myself, and I'm not. I'm just a little bit too laid back sometimes when it comes to dieting and exercising. Plus I get sick so much. I'm like constantly sick. Anyways, Jody is the sister, best friend, fun sidekick. She is a total character. You like her immediately. She's very supportive of her brother, and she's funny. She's kind of like, I feel like she's the comic relief of the story. So those are your main characters. There's also the Webb sisters who are like the popular pretty girls that June has like a thing with. Kind of, they're twins, fraternal twins, and there's kind of like a strange dynamic there, as like June's in love with one and then he ends up with the other one. But that's kind of like the character. So the plot of this story is that June's all buff and fit, and he gets invited to a party, and he starts kind of getting recruited by the football players, or the jocks or whatever. And then people start dying. Kids start dying. The jocks start dying. And so the cops kind of are looking at June and being like, this kid was bullied relentlessly. Now he's like, he couldn't just get the revenge body. He wants the actual revenge. Like, what's going on? So that's kind of like the story is like June is being targeted as the potential as a suspect in these murders. And meanwhile, June's like upset about the murders and trying to figure out what's going on himself, because it's kind of some of the nicer people are dying. Just random people are dying, okay? And they don't know who it is. So intriguing, right? You got your main character who's targeted as a suspect. You have people dying. You want to find out who the killer is. Great subject matter, okay? And then you have kind of these other themes: bullying, eating disorders, romance, you know, kind of threaded throughout the story. So that's the plot, right? Now, I think that's a really, really interesting plot for sure. That's why I chose this book. I think that it definitely, I'm curious if June was the only kid who got bullied. I don't think it talks about other kids getting bullied. I'm trying to remember if it talked about other kids getting bullied. I'm not 100% sure. There's definitely, some of the girls are treated really bad, like called sluts and Like there's some of the girls are treated poorly. I feel like there is somebody else who gets bullied. I'm not 100% sure. But June I think was maybe their favorite because the crap they did to him was brutal. Like they beat the crap out of him and yeah. So anyway, so the book is like kind of going through June's falling in love. The murders are still happening. He's a suspect. That's the plot. Now it was difficult to read. The book was difficult to read. It was very confusing. The plot, I don't think the plot changed, but it wasn't flowing smoothly. It didn't go from scene to scene very smoothly, as far as writing. And I think that makes sense as somebody's very first attempt to ever write. That makes a lot of sense. And this is a pretty ambitious first attempt at writing, to come up with a complicated murder mystery story for your very first book. That's ambitious to start out like that. I think that there was a few things that I'm going to like recommend as far as like changes, but I want to give an example of why things were a little bit confusing to read. And I did include like this was something that was kept happening throughout the book. So this is a quote from the book, and it says, "People were cheering as they exited the school because it is a relief that school has finally ended." And so this sentence there's a couple of things with this sentence here. Is one, the tenses change. So you go from speaking in past tense to speaking in present tense in one sentence. And so you have to pick, do you want to speak in past tense, which is people were cheering as they exited the school? That's past tense. And it is a relief is present tense. That school has finally ended. And has is past tense. I don't know about that. But anyways, there's two different tenses here. So you need to pick one. You need to pick, do you want to speak in past tense or do you want to speak in present tense? I have a serious preference for past tense, but I have read a ton of great books in present tense that are done right. I don't know why. When I read present tense, it's a little bit harder for me to read than past tense. But I would pick one and stick with it and then go back through the book and say, okay, this is in present tense. I need to change it to past tense or vice versa. So that's another thing. Another thing that this sentence does, so there's this concept of showing and telling, right? So you always want to show, not tell. You want to show that people are excited that they're, leaving the school. They're cheering. They're excited as they exited the school. They're excited to be leaving the school. That you're showing us that. Because it is a relief that school has finally ended, you're telling us that. So you're showing and telling. Present tense is much harder to write because you need to keep the reader grounded in the moment rather than simply telling them a story that happened once. Yes. And I think that's why I don't like it, because a lot of people don't do it right. Because I'm always like, this is more reading like role playing is kind of how it seems like, rather than somebody telling me a story. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being picky. I don't know. But either way, it is. I have a preference, but I don't know if other people have a preference. I highly recommend starting with past tense. Okay, yeah. I like reading past tense, and great books are written in past tense. I would say that the majority of books are written in past tense. There's not. I don't know if there's a lot of present tense. Let me read this. Yeah, this is past tense. First book on my list. I don't know. But hybrid. Present tense can be done well, but it takes a lot of skill. Yeah, I think that it would take. I think it would take a lot to be good at present tense. And I read a book recently that was present tense, and I don't remember what it was, and it was written really well. And I remember being like, oh, I didn't even realize it was present tense. That's how good it was. Is it Princess Bride? No. Princess Bride is also written in past tense. Anyways, so I would pick a tense, and then also when you are trying to tell us something, show us the way you always, the author does a really good job, or not, the author shows us this stuff and tells us this stuff. So the people were cheering as they exited the school. That is showing us, like, the people are cheering because they leave. They're excited. So we can imply that they're excited to leave the school, right? Because it is a relief that school has finally ended. That is explaining why they're cheering. So you're showing us and you're telling us. You do not need to do both. Ideally, you would just be showing us. We would be able to understand the vibe of what's going on with just the what, like, your first word. So people were cheering in relief as they heard the bell rang, whatever. So that's, I feel like that would be a good way to just, like, get the vibe out. But this sentence is it's not difficult to read. Like, we read it and we understand it, but also it's, like, kind of like jerky, like I'm having trouble reading this. It's not very fun to read because it's, like, it's a lot. So that is just my note there for as far as something that I noticed frequently throughout the book there was a lot of showing and telling, and there was a lot of past and present tense. It's very technical versus emotional. Yeah, so it's like I understand what's happening, but I'm not feeling what's happening because of the way that it's written. Is that what you mean, Cherry? Is I understand what's going on, but I don't feel it. Yeah, okay. So that was another thing. Another thing that was happening was that so the chapters are long, which is not an issue. And they're broken up like so it's like chapter 1 part B, chapter 1 part C. You're like moving down the line. Oh, good. I really want to be helpful. So if you're done listening, by the way, Josie, let me know. I definitely want to be helpful for sure. And then so it's broken up. And that's what's used as the scene breaks. Now you can use ornamental scene breaks, which we talked about. I think it was Sevenfold Fate didn't have scene breaks, but it was because Wattpad had automatically removed them. But you can use ornamental scene breaks instead of making it so, like, official. Thank you for your input. I need this. Okay, good. Because I think you have such a fun, like, really, really cool idea. And I will, if you're editing this, which it sounded like, I feel like you said that you were, real ones will know. Only OG Missy fan club, book club people will know that one. Yeah, I'm really, really, I'm excited. If I would love to read this story a second time. So if you're going through edits and you want a second review, I will totally do that. I would love to do that. So that was one thing that was just made it a little bit difficult to read. I'm just looking at my notes. There was, and I don't want to get too nitpicky just because it's like some of the stuff isn't that big of a deal. There was the, dialogue tags versus action tags type of punctuation errors and grammatical errors. And then there were even some, commas when it should have definitely been a new sentence. And that's not just run on. That was like, no, this is a completely entirely different sentence. So there was like stuff like that, but that stuff doesn't matter. What matters is the other stuff. The potential is here for sure. I love the concept so far. Writing takes skill and skill takes practice. Yeah, please, Josie, do not be discouraged. You have such a cool idea. You have a great set of like characters. There's a lot of like cliches throughout your story, right? So the descriptions are the jocks. And it's another thing is that June and Jody call each other like bro and sis, and it's very like Hallmark introduction to this character, where it's like, I have brothers and sisters. I know tons of people with brothers and sisters. Never met anybody that calls their brother or sister bro or sis, except for on those like, Disney Channel type stuff or Hallmark stuff. They'll say like my siblings, like that's how they'll describe their brothers and sisters. My siblings and I are going out, which isn't that big of a deal. One time, like one entire chapter, one of the characters, Sarah, is described as the girlfriend. And it's just like the girlfriend said this, and then she hugged the girlfriend, talking about his sister's girlfriend. And I thought that was really like interesting when you could have just said, oh, this was Jodi's. You could just introduce the character in some form, and it's as Jodi's girlfriend, and her name is Sarah. And then after that, you say, Sarah said this. Jodi hugs Sarah, because we've been introduced to the character, so you don't call her the girlfriend anymore. Although there is a funny part later in the book. Oh, okay. No, this is talking about Miguel's girlfriend later, where she's like, my name's not Miguel's girlfriend, by the way, it's Charlotte or whatever. So that was funny. Because if somebody, I get introduced as, oh, this is so-and-so's wife all the time. I'm like, I have a name. I am a person. I'm not just ornamental. So anyways, that I thought that was funny. And then there was the main characters, June and Jodi, they have moms. So they have Amy and Nari are their moms. Nari is the one who carried both June and Jodi, and then and they had a sperm donor for the mom. And because there's two moms, they call them Mother Amy and Mother Nari. And every single time I read that, I was like, this sounds like Mother Teresa. Like these are some Catholic moms or something like that. And I don't know a ton of people with two moms. My cousin is married, and they have a kid. And so, but here's the difference. They have mom and they have mum, because mum is from England and mom, my cousin, is from California, which, by the way, I'm from a small town in Northern California. So I farmland and everything. So I totally related with the setting of this book, but I was like, I feel like that's more realistic. I had a friend who, one of my friends in high school, you're in Canada and use mum. I had a friend in high school with two moms, but he called both of his moms by their first name. So he wouldn't call them Mother Amy and Mother Nari. He would just call them Amy and Nari, which I was like, why do you call your mom Amy? Well, whatever her name was, I forget what it was. But, I was like, what the heck? I didn't get it. But when you have two moms, maybe you do just use their first name. Maybe it gets complicated unless one's from a different country. So one of them's Korean. Maybe there's a Korean name for mom. I don't know. But I laughed at that. But there was, and then the mom would also call her son, June, son. And I won't say that that's necessarily like weird language, like cliche Hallmark stuff, but I will say Korean for mom is uma or uma, which I don't know which way that's pronounced, but that's adorable. I love that. I would definitely use that. That's super cute. And I wouldn't say that calling somebody son is necessarily cliche, but because my husband calls our son, ironically, all the time. He goes, he's like, that's my son, that's my seed. Like, that's what he says. And then my dad calls my brother son condescendingly. He says, son, get over here. I think it's a weird thing to call your kid son, and usually there's more meaning to that. But it's just funny because it reminds me of that Hallmark scene. He's like, I thought I heard my oldest son coming there, and then it's like, oh, I'm introduced, and now I'm the oldest son. Like, it's like, that's kind of fun. My mom says son of mine. Oh my gosh, textual, you know what I just realized? We're getting like the whole, like, we've got people from like all over the country now in our group. We have Uruguay, we have Finland, we have Denmark, we have Germany, we have Turkey, we have Canada, and we have the US. I feel like I'm missing something. Am I missing a country? We got 7 countries so far. Very excited about all the countries that we have in the book club. Now we got Canada. Yes, we're gonna take over the world, people. If we get every single country represented from every country, nobody can stop us from reading books nonstop. But as far as building a world map, yep, Missy Worldwide. Get some sunglasses on. Okay. So another thing that there was a few like kind of plot holy type stuff throughout the book as well, where just things didn't make sense. For instance, there's a party being thrown at the Popular Kids house, and they invite June and his sister, like, oh yeah, you guys can come because now June's hot, so why wouldn't they want a hot guy at their party? And there's like a lot of hinting that the popular guy is like gay. There's more than hinting that he's like gay for June, but he's not. Like in the end you find out he's not. Or maybe he is, I don't know. But anyways, so he ends up getting invited to this party, and it's Jodi's girlfriend's house. And so she's excited to go to the party, but why wouldn't she be invited to the party? Like there was stuff like that where I was like, no, she would get invited to the party. And then once these murders start happening, more kind of things happen where it's like, the police wouldn't do that. Then none of this would happen. And so there was a lot of stuff like that. If the body was found, early on the Saturday morning, why were the police so hung up on what these suspects were doing the entire weekend? Like they should really just be wondering what happened Friday night when the first kid who was murdered was last seen, to when his body was discovered like 12 hours later, less than 12 hours later, right? It was like, there's like a 6-hour window where the kids saw him to where like dawn when the farmer found him on the field. So there's like kind of stuff like that where I'm just like, okay, this needs to be mapped out a little bit better, because the cops wouldn't care about that. I don't care about what they're doing Saturday and Sunday. I care about who was at that party that the kid was last seen at, and where his body was found later. Who was there? Who has a thing against Miguel? So anyways, I'm wondering throughout this whole story, who is it? Who's this girl in the pink hair? So that's another thing. Who's this girl in the pink hair who was last seen with Miguel that nobody knows? Miguel, by the way, is the first person who died. Sorry, spoilers. So then there's like flashbacks that happen that are like unnatural. So it just doesn't flow too well. And then there's details that, there's like unneeded detail, like what they're eating, what's their workout routine, what they're doing at work, what car they're driving, what the newscaster is wearing. Like in great detail, we get into what the newscaster is wearing, and like a full paragraph of like, oh, she was wearing this, and it's like, oh yeah, she sounds like she looks great, but does it add to the story? So those details don't need to be added to the story unless it's relevant, unless it's like, I'm not saying that every single detail needs to add to the plot, but it should add to the story. Why should I care what the newscast, like if you're setting a scene, you'll want to do that with every single character. I want to know what everybody's wearing, or but I don't want to know what everybody's wearing. So there's kind of stuff like that. These are all actually really important details, but those are for you, the writer. Put them in a separate document for your own reference. That is such a good point, Cherry. Thank you. Yes. So you want to, I just realized my chat box is blocked. These, exactly what Cherry said. These are really, really important details to keep in your mind or keep on your notes that you're keeping alongside. Like, some as far as like recommendations for writers is that you want to have if you're going to have a side character, you want the background of that side character. What motivates that side character? What's going on in their day? And it helps with the continuity of the story. And if you want to provide hints to that, then you want to do that. Like you want to have the characters are their own people. We don't need to know everything about the side character. We just want to know like from one angle. So you have your full cup, right? 3D cup. We're just looking at one dimension of it, right? We're just looking at this one side of the cup. We don't need to see every single little bit and piece of it, but you might need to, right? And then only give the relevant details to paint the story for the reader in the book itself. Yes, absolutely. So there are like, and you know what's funny too is I bet you, Josie, that you work out. I bet you that you work out, and the food that's described is your favorite food. Because I remember when I first wrote my book, I was very into, okay, but somebody has to do the laundry at some point. That needs to be in the book, right? Because the laundry hasn't been done. And somebody has to clean up and unload the dishes. Nobody's done that because that's what I'm doing all day. I'm just thinking about what needs to be done around the house. And so I was including that kind of crap in my book for no freaking reason. And I removed it all. But I remember being like, dude, I am including so much cooking and cleaning and laundry and all of this and taking care of what little children need. I needed to make sure that the children had babysitters. Like, it was like all throughout my book. Haha, I used to work out in college, was a weightlifter. Okay, I knew it. I knew it because when I was reading this stuff, I was like, she's working out. She's thinking about what's important to June and Jody to get their workout in, and she's including it here. I do like the so when they're taking their pre-workout, like your very first, like in, I think it's like the beginning of the first chapter when they're going to the gym, and they're doing their pre-workout. I was like, this is not like important, but I did like it as far as adding to the story because it just showed, like, especially when it showed Jody kind of choking on the pre-workout, which I thought was, again, the comic relief. It's showing that they kind of have a routine together as friends, that this is what they do. Like, that's really cool. You don't need to bring up the pre-workout after that. You don't need to bring up their workout routine. I'm going to assume that before their workout, after that, they always do a pre-workout, especially if you say something like, as they always did, they took their pre-workout before the gym. And then I'm going to assume it from then on. So as far as like details like that, you're like, yes, that is important. That is an important detail. They have to take a pre-workout. Otherwise, they're not going to make their gains. So when I read that, I instantly, that's so funny. I knew it. So anyways, there's stuff like that, which, I feel like it distracts from the story. You want to keep it relevant to the story, or at least, to the vibe of the story. So, that is a little bit, there's a part where there's like that, there's a part where they discovered, the body, and this, I'm just talking about the very, very beginning of this story right now. They've discovered the body, and Jody was apparently really close with the kid that died. And then she's apparently walking on sunshine by the end of the school day, and she's like really, really sad at the beginning. And then it's weird because the next at the end of the school day, when they're getting ready for their workout, she's like super happy, looking forward to the workout, and it's not implying that they've lost their best friend. Also, Miguel is not introduced prior to the time that you find him dead, which I think that you should. I think that, have you ever watched a show, and it, like The Walking Dead or something, or Game of Thrones, where they get this episode where all of a sudden they're kind of bringing up this character a lot, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person's about to die. Do you ever do that? Where you're like, oh man, like this character is getting its own episode. They're either going to die at the end of this episode or the next episode. Like, they're getting axed soon. And I feel like there's a reason for that. You want to make sure that we care about the death. They're trying to make sure that we care that this kid died. We care either that it's connected to the, we care that there's a connection. So we should be introduced to whoever is dying before they die, so that we can get connected and get pissed off about their death, so we can know a little bit more. So we should know how they're connected to the main characters. It's to attach the audience to the character. Yeah. And it's like a dead giveaway whenever you're watching those ones where like people die left and right all the time. But anyways, I would definitely consider that to the story. I can't stand the ending. So, wait, my father figure is suddenly giving me a speech about his backstory and how proud he is of me. I hope nothing happens to him. Exactly. Like, whenever my husband and I are together, we always look at each other like, would be a shame if they died. I remember one time there was like this little kid and then I remember my husband was like, they better not kill this kid. They better not kill that kid after they just made me fall in love with them. They better not kill this adorable little baby, you know? So there's that too, where you start to get paranoid when they start showing this side character a bit more. Anyways, think about that. Like I said, I did not like the ending. However, I think obviously you have a very clear vision about what happens in the end. And I want to get into spoilers, and I really don't want to spoil the story for everybody here. But I don't know. Do I have permission to spoil the story with the ending? Because I feel like it's really, really relevant. I'm going to put up my spoilers flag just in case, and I'm going to tell a story that's unrelated, but could be seen as a spoiler, right? I'm putting up my spoilers flag. So, spoilers are enrichment. You like spoilers way too much, Cherry. Oh my gosh. Yes, spoil. Okay. So there was this time where I was the manager at a dental practice, and I was working like 60 hours a week. Yes, I was working like 60 hours a week, and I was exhausted. That's just a lot of work. And I didn't have kids at the time, so it wasn't like the end of the world, but I didn't have very much spare time. So what I did with my spare time was very important to me, because I also had to cook and clean and do all the crap around the house. And when I say this, by the way, my husband also does cooking and cleaning. It's just a lot, you know, to have to cook and clean. We both cook and clean. It's not just me. Anyways, I do. Stories are about the journey, not the destination. Well, not when the destination is a twist. You don't want to know the twist before the end of the story. Anyway, so I'm working 60 hours a week. I'm very tired. I want to relax. My husband recommends this podcast called Serial. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. So it's a murder mystery, another murder mystery. And the thing about murder mysteries is you want to know who the murderer is at the end of the story. You need to know who is out there killing people. That's what the entire story is about. And guess what? At the end of that podcast, which was like 8 hours long, I listened to it while I was doing my stuff and relaxing and stuff. At the end of that podcast, they're just like, yeah, I mean, we never know. These are just the details I'm providing you. I didn't know. I did not just spend 8 hours of my precious freaking time not learning if this guy actually killed these kids. I did not do that. I did not just wait. I was livid. And my husband, who had already listened to the whole thing and had recommended it to me, I was pissed at him for recommending it to me. How dare you waste my time? How you knew how little extra time I had, and you recommended this. The age-old question, terrible exposition or unsatisfying ending. I was so pissed. Who wants to read a book or listen to a podcast or watch a documentary and then not find out who done it? Not me. I want the satisfying ending. I want to know exactly what happened so I can reread the whole thing again, knowing who did it. That is what I like to do. That is the destination. That's where I'm going. Imagine Frodo's going on this journey to go, and it's this big epic tale about, going to throw away the ring, and then he loses the ring. What's the point of the story? I need to know. And that's how I felt about this ending. And so I'm very frustrated with it as a reader, not as a critic as far as the ending, but I was legit pissed at the end. Exactly. You got to read it and look for the hints. Look for all the subtle details you miss. Look for the foreshadowing. Look for I missed that scene last. That's a hint that's the killer. That's what you want to do. You get double reads if you write a murder mystery, by the way. I was so mad at the ending because, spoiler alert on this, it was all a dream. The kid was in a coma. His name's not even June. It's John. And I don't understand how we get I was so frustrated. I was so mad because there's times where it's like, oh, it was all an illusion. Frodo was just dreaming in the end. He died in a mud puddle in the Shire or whatever. Yeah, exactly. That it's so frustrating. I'll fix the ending. No. What I'm saying is, if that's what you want your ending to be, you can do it right? Okay, I'm going to get back into spoilers. Totally. I hope this is okay. So basically at the end of the book, they get into like June gets into a fight with the killer, takes off his mask. There's another white mask. Oh my gosh. Takes off the mask again. And oh my gosh, it's June. So June is fighting with June, right? No, his name is June, but oh, okay. Because I was like, it's not even, he's like having this whole delusional thing. Okay, no, his name is June, but Courtney forgot his name because they're not actually close. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that makes sense. Now, because Courtney and him are like besties dating in this book, and that's not real. So I went back and I was like, okay, at what point, because Courtney, she was like, I thought I killed you. She thought she put June into a coma. And so I went back and I was reading it and I was like, I don't remember a scene at all where Courtney like accidentally runs him over with his car. Or maybe in the prologue, that's where maybe in the prologue, that was like the last scene and the entire book has been a dream. Or like, I don't know how did he get into that coma? That's what I wanted to know. So if you want to keep him in a coma and this is all just some crazy dream, do it. Provide hints that June is the killer, first of all, because I want to be wondering if June's the killer. And then also make it clear that there was some accident. Because I was like going back and I was like, when did Courtney, were they in an accident? Did it have something to do with him spiking the drinks in like the chapter 1? Like, did she accidentally poison him? Like, I went back and I read and I was like, so you did get double reads out of me, but I was like, yeah, there has to be a moment where this incident happens. How did he end up in this coma? There has to be some type of foreshadowing. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, did you just not want to write the ending? And this is what you did. like you didn't know who the killer was yourself. And so that's what you did. So I like that. That's what I was like thinking. So first of all, it is your, artistic vision for this book. For like, do exactly what you're going to do with it. But I'm just saying, too much pre-work, passed out from lack of oxygen. Oh my gosh. But Courtney somehow feels responsible for his coma. So that's the thing where I'm like, why does she feel responsible? What hints were given to us? Because I was assuming there would be hints. So hang on, I'm going to put you guys on mute so I can blow my nose because I got this cold going. I hope that nobody can hear me. This one time, I didn't realize that during a work meeting, I didn't realize that I was on mute. And so what I did was I had to sneeze. So I unmuted myself to sneeze and then put myself back on mute. And then I didn't realize what had happened until somebody said, "Bless you." And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? And yeah, absolutely disgusting, unfollowed. Thanks, Textual. Little tip for your stream. Don't blow your nose in the middle of it. You'll lose followers. But anyways, those are my major notes on As Cold as White, because it is such a cool book. A cool idea. It is a very cool idea. Murder mysteries are super, super fun. There's a lot going on. I would say like my bullet points would be outline the plot. I would outline the plot now that you have it written out. So you want to have like your key moments. What are the, like, if you were to create bullet points of your book, you want to start with the prologue, and then you want to start with the inciting incident, which is the murder. And you want to provide like hints at who the murderer is, or hints throughout the book, not obvious ones, but something where if you were to reread it, you would know you want to have hints at what's going on. And then if you want the ending to be like, oh no, he was in a coma at the very end and it's been this whole time, go back to the beginning and make sure that we know when he was in a coma. And also maybe even provide hints that this isn't reality. Like things that don't seem right, like if it's all been a dream, something should seem dreamlike. I don't know. Double meanings are helpful with hints, things that can be taken both ways. Yeah. Absolutely. If there's a trope I would love to see in this book would find the killer only to reveal that there are still people dying could be a good chapter. Yeah. That's another one. There is a red herring, which is I'm pretty sure Leroy Miller is the red herring. He's like the head jock. He's Jodi's girlfriend's brother, and he's a total a-hole, and he's the worst. And he also, another really crazy thing that he did that I was like, that's insane, is Leroy sent the main character was getting these like love letters, but the love letters were like in his locker, and they were like in his bedroom, in his top drawer or whatever. So his like secret admirer was getting into his house, and like he was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting stalked. And I was so glad too that it revealed who it was, and it was Leroy, just another way of Leroy bullying him. So it was just, which is really like, if I ever got like a secret admirer, I would be serious. When I was in high school, I would have honestly thought that I was being bullied. I would not have believed that I had a secret admirer. I would have been like, someone's messing with me. That would be my very first instinct, is like, who the heck is this? Is this my sister, who was my in-house bully, who's my best friend now? Or is this one of her friends that wants to mess with me? Or is this some jerk who thinks it would be funny to make Missy believe that somebody's in love with her? Blah, blah, blah. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought it was Courtney the whole time, who was secretly in love with June. Anyways, that's what I would do. I would bullet it out. I would create a plot outline. I would make sure that you include like what needs to happen during, like what hints need to be created in certain chapters, outline it, and then try to stay away from showing us and not telling us, providing details that are relevant to you but maybe not relevant to the audience. Or relevant to the story, and those would be my big notes. I feel bad because I haven't given you my favorite quote yet, which I already shared this in the book club Discord because I needed a place to forward it from my phone, so I was like, I'll just send it to the Discord. Hang on. Okay, so Jodi is has there ever been a book where the murderer was the narrator? Because that would be kind of a cool twist, if so. I've never read Oh! You mean the POV? Like the main character is the murderer? I feel like I have read that. Ooh. I feel like I have totally read a book where the main character was the murderer, and you don't find out until like really close to the end. And you're like, wait, oh my gosh, they have been killing these people the whole time. And the story is really about them being like, trying to find out. No, like the narrator is a separate character, but not explicitly stated as such. Like what's that one movie, Stranger Than Fiction, where the narrator, like you can like hear the narrator, almost like they are detailing the actions of the other characters. Kind of like a Gossip Girl, like an observer, but it's an actual person. Anyways, sorry. Going off track here, but so Jodi is June's sister, and she's a total vibe. I love this quote from her because this reminds me of one of my favorite characters from you're fine, by the way, Textual. I get sidetracked. One of my favorite characters from Ginny and Georgia, I think her name's Max. Ooh, we should discuss that in the Discord. Oh, finding that. Sorry. Okay. I think her name's Max in Ginny and Georgia. Marcus's sister, Cherry, I'm pretty sure her name is Max. I don't know. She's awesome. She reminds me so much of Jody. Story idea. Yeah, we should maybe have like a writer's cafe too in there. Um and so she's kind of like Maxine. Okay, great. I'm glad I had her name right. She's my favorite character on that show. She's super funny. She is also gay, which is funny. And then she's just like kind of like obnoxious but sweet and supportive of her brother. And well, she has a lot more drama with her brother than June does with Jody. Jody and June are best buds. And but anyways, this is my favorite quote because it says Jody comes running into the living room and to the kitchen. Food! She screams. I need food. That's how I read it, by the way. And I would just adore this girl if I met her in real life. I just know it. So anyways, that is my favorite quote. You have my notes. You have my review. I think you have a really, really cool idea for a book. And I think that this is a really you chose a really ambitious plot. I don't know if I would do a word count to see. It's like startling but funny. Yeah, because she like this is like at this point it's like the mom's in the kitchen and then this is what's happening is like then her daughter comes running in is like food. I need food. Like give me food, mother. Sustain me. Like I would just love a person like that. And so I liked that. I thought that was really cute. But anyways, Josie, excuse me. It's a demand. Yes. Thank you for your time. We'll begin editing. Yeah. I mean, I will definitely read it again. So when you're ready, when you feel like you're ready, like, okay, I got a good second draft. I think I'm on my like fourth draft of my book and I don't even think it's ready to share with anybody. So this stuff that, it takes a lot of time I can't believe that this is your first attempt at writing a book and you've chosen such a cool storyline. Yeah. Very intriguing. You had me hooked, when I saw the about me. I mean, you saw my response when you were like, oh, this is my book. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. I'll be checking that out. Like that. Like I was like, I need to read that one right away. And I chose it immediately. I was like, this is going next on my list. So you have a really great idea. So that should tell you something. You have good tags. This is the type of story that I would like to read. Cherry's been working off and on with her book for over 10 years. And that's the thing is writing. If you look up like memes on writing, like writers are not okay. Like they are struggling. Writing is a labor of love, and it is a labor though. Like some people like Stephen King can just bust out books, but they are geniuses, and most of us are not. So yeah, we are not okay. I just feel like I've been writing my story forever, and I never intended it for it to be a story. It was just like this fun, crazy thing. And anyways, definitely keep writing. I definitely want to read the next iteration of this book and see where it goes, see the little changes that you've made. And I will read, if you make 10 different drafts of this, I will read all 10 and I will do reviews on them. So if anybody else in the book club wants to check out this book so they can read the first one before she starts editing, do that so you can see it develop over time because that is always fun to watch. But yeah, I think it's you've got a really, really cool idea and I am excited to read more from you. So I know you're in the middle of writing another book, so I won't like hold my breath or anything, but just a FYI. So moving on from my from my